Hi, welcome to Life on the Rock, and tonight our guest is Leah Darrow. She was a contestant on America's Next Top Model, and tonight she'll be speaking about her work as a model, her work in modeling, and also her conversion. And she has a chastity message, a modesty message we're going to speak about tonight. In a difficult area in today's age, isn't it, Doug, to walk that line of
it is
of a dignified fashion and yet still looking attractive and beautiful.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's always a tough area. I mean, the fact that you know, we're created for beauty, we're created to appreciate beauty, and we're drawn to beauty. But you know, the devil can get in there and twist that and really create problems by perverting the understanding of what true beauty is and the way we should be expressing ourselves to one another.
And recently there was a press release on by World Youth Day organizers for Madrid, 2011, and this is about the cultural program of World Youth Day. And a part of every World Youth Day, there's what they call a cultural exchange. Certainly, the culture of the host country is on exhibition and tries to teach the visitors to that country, but also all the young people from whatever country, they bring artifacts, so to speak, of their culture too. And it's always a beautiful thing. I always find that fascinating. Just to even walk in the crowd, you see like the African cultures with their different dress, sometimes their dance. I remember in Cologne, they had a boat on the Rhine River, and they had the organizers had these boats, and these some African nations young people from Africa were there, and they were doing like this dance, but it was part of their culture. It wasn't like a discotheque dance, But it was just wonderful to see. We don't have that in America, but it was beautiful to see those kind of things. But anyway, World Youth Day is having a number of exhibitions. They show films. This year they're going to show Of Gods and Men. There will be dragons, letters to God, a different theatrical performance as well. There will be an exhibition, Moved by Beauty, which will speak about is made by the architect who created the church in the new cathedral of Santiago de Compostela. There will be as well, one of the highlights known for its particular Spanish flavor is a representation of the Holy Year in Madrid, a sacramental play similar to the Old English morality plays. And there will even be a musical about John Paul II's life, so quite a panoply of things there. And as I said, it's always a fun aspect of music, and also just the different expressions of our faith. That's certainly a part of culture as well. Certainly the church in Africa, different expression than the Church of America, and Europe. The heart of Western civilization certainly has a very defined, well-defined, developed culture, church culture. So.
Well, it's so true. I mean, just the musical differences alone, when you consider, Spanish music to, as you mentioned, African music, the heart and the root of maybe European. When it comes to, even the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, the variations of that, watching those programs where you'll see missionaries in Africa, celebrating Mass in a church with a dirt floor, and the way it is appreciated and understood there is as compared to, a beautiful cathedral somewhere. So it is going to be a great thrill, and that is always the exciting thing about World Youth Days is the, you see that even with different languages, different cultural backgrounds, different expressions, we all are united under the Eucharist, under the Rosary. You can be speaking different languages and expressing your culture in different ways, and someone holds up a rosary and right away, oh yeah, that brings us together.
Yeah. And Vatican II had this to say about culture. It said, the word culture, in its general sense, indicates everything whereby man develops and perfects his many bodily and spiritual qualities. He strives by his knowledge and his labor to bring the world itself under his control. He renders social life more human, both in the family and the civic community, through the improvement of customs and institutions. Right, that's right out of Genesis, right? Adam and Eve are given the garden to cultivate and till. So how we use our humanity, all our spiritual and our bodily talents and gifts to cultivate this world, that is what we call culture. And human beings naturally do it. It rises wherever you have any kind of society of human beings. So the gospel has a lot to say on this, right? The culture, in a sense, drives history. It's what we love and cherish in the world, and that's what motivates man and sends him out there to transform the world. So certainly the gospel has got to be preached out there. It has to inform the culture. It has to purify the culture. Sometimes we have fallen aspects of the culture that the gospel values will purify, ultimately to protect the dignity of man, right? That's really at the heart of what culture is protecting his dignity. So certainly fashion tonight is a big part of our culture, and we'll be speaking about how we should look at chastity and modesty. You know, what is the gospel message there? And practically too, maybe a little practical tips too about how to dress. So.
Right.
I know, Doug, we got just about a minute left. I know that's part of your talk sometimes too when you speak to young people, modesty.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to this show tonight with Leah because you know, this is something that, you know, for 20 years traveling and speaking is one of those issues. It's like music.
Right.
You know, there's certain issues, modesty, music. Those are a couple that can really set off some fires. You know, because everybody has a different understanding or appreciation of it. And as you said, the gospel and the faith can purify and help us really put these things in proper perspective and understand them more completely and how they are to be expressed by us as human beings. So, important issue, important topic.
So we will be speaking about some chastity issues tonight. So it might be not appropriate for our youngest of viewers, but. So just take that into consideration, parents out there. The issue tonight will involve chastity. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Leah Darrow speaking about modesty. So don't go away.
Welcome back to Laugh on the Rock, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Doug Barry, along with Father Mark, the Rock House compadres. High in the mountains, hidden in the Rock House. Obviously the same scene, the same sunset, the same lighting as always year-round. So we're with Leah Darrow. Nice to have you on the show, Leah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good to have you here. And you are famous in some circles of the world and getting famous now in others. I always say that sort of thing, you know, famous in some circles, but now famous in others. You were in the secular world as a model and kind of heading that whole direction, and then something changed in your life and brought you to the world of evangelization. Now now speaking on the dignity and modesty and sacredness of the body and so forth. So that's a fantastic story. So we're going to get into that tonight. A little bit about yourself, though. Tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
Oklahoma. I was born and raised on a farm in Oklahoma, actually, believe it or not.
Now, you and I then traditionally should have some traditional differences here.
I know.
I'm from Nebraska.
I hear that you are from Nebraska.
Yes. And now, are you a football fan at all?
I did tell you I was from Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah.
Okay, so that pretty much tells you that I'm a
Okay,
football
all right,
fan.
here we go. See, it's
I
already
have to
starting.
let you know, listen, my uncle is an All-American for
is he?
Oklahoma, so you just better be careful.
Okay, all
You better
right.
watch it.
All
But
right.
yes, I'm a very big football fan. I love college football, very big Oklahoma
I'm
fan.
assuming you watched the final Big 12 game between Nebraska and Oklahoma this last year, did you?
I have, yes, I very much keep up with my Sooners.
Okay, and Nebraska did lose that game, ladies and gentlemen.
You're exuding such humility. I love it. Look at that honesty.
It is just a game. But we played a great quarter. The first quarter of that game, Nebraska played very well, and then it went downhill from there. Nebraska was taken over.
It happens sometimes. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
But it does.
Yeah, but anyway, more important issues.
Yeah, surprisingly so. I know.
So you from Oklahoma and you went to high school, graduated. Tell us about your background and what got you into the modeling world.
It just, I never really thought that would happen. You know, I kind of fell into that. It wasn't something I always planned on. I mean, I've always loved fashion. Don't get me wrong. I'm a girl. I love fashion. I know it's kind of funny. I'm with two great manly men here, but I love fashion. I mean, everything to do with it. Buttons, glittery stuff. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Yeah. And in fact, I still own my very first bathing suit. It's this fantastic one. It's a great one-piece, hot pink with ruffles around the, it's wonderful. I swear, if I'm blessed to get married and have kids one day, even if I have a boy, I'm sticking him in this thing. I know I won't. Okay, I really won't. But The point is, I obviously keep my fashions. I
Okay.
love them. I think it's wonderful. So, but I never really thought that my fashions would lead to modeling. Fashion, loving fashion doesn't mean that you have to be a model. And that's like a big difference in culture today. I think that young girls think that, well, I love fashion, I must be a fashion model. That's not the same thing. But for me, I love fashion. I've always loved that. I think I kind of blame my grandma and my mom for a lot of that, of just introducing me to a lot of fun little things that girls do. But after high school, well, during high school, some things with my faith got a little fuzzy in terms of how I understood relationships in general. Things kind of took a slow fade with my Catholic faith.
So you were born, raised Catholic?
I was born and raised Catholic,
Okay.
absolutely. My parents did a really great job. We still have a very large devotion to Our Lady. We would say our rosary every night together on the farm. I remember doing that. And we came kicking and screaming, don't get me wrong. It wasn't always like the most peaceful situations, but we did it. It was something my parents were very certain on, that it was very important that we had that devotion to Our Lady.
Right.
And so we did do that. And we, obviously went to Mass every Sunday and things like that. So we were raised in the faith, and then after we actually moved, I moved high schools in the middle of high school, and that kind of created a little bit of a difference and got new friends. And sometimes my new friends have different ideas of what fun was and
Right.
what relationships were and how to act and what to do with people and what not to do with people and things like that. So anyway, it just became like this kind of slow fade
Right.
away from my faith. And it wasn't, it's not like you end up as this big, huge sinner, all of a sudden being a big, huge sinner. It's this making one tiny little decision. And then after that small decision thinking, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. I'll just make, and then you make another one. And then before you know it, you've made a couple, and then you feel bad and you feel guilty and you don't know what to do, and so you don't do anything, you don't tell anybody, and you don't get any help. And
You know, a friend of mine makes that point. He says, Eric Jennis, I speak with him publicly, we travel quite a bit, and he will say to a crowd, I don't worry about the big jump into big sin. I worry about the slow slide. Little slide that you don't really necessarily recognize.
Yeah.
And then eventually you find yourself one day in a different world and haven't even realized how you got there necessarily.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened to you then.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
it was
so-
that slow side.
So you kind of drift away, you slip away, but then you get this opportunity, you start moving into the modeling world. How did that come about?
It was just happenstance. I mean, I did model locally around town and things like that. Just a few things here and there. It wasn't a big deal. It was just trying out a few things. I never really thought it would be a profession. Never really wanted to. My father is huge in education. Always promoted it. Get a college degree. Get education. So I always knew that. Well, you don't need a degree to become a model. So therefore, it's it's not a profession.
Sure,
It
sure.
just always was something that I guess in my mind, that's how I thought about it.
So it was never equated with as being something serious or,
No, not at all.
respectable or credible.
Not in my family whatsoever. And so I continued on. I went to college and I got a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I graduated actually with honors. And then after college, I got this crazy idea that I would try out for America's Next Top Model, and that was my big jump into it. Shockingly enough, I got on. I was put on the show, and
You had to beat out a number of contestants. I mean, just to get on, right? There was a lot of,
yeah, there was
like thousands.
hundreds of thousands, quite a bit. I didn't know that at the time. I was just so naive. I think I was just like, oh, okay, I'll try out,
And just briefly for the audience who's not aware of the show, I've never seen the show, but I've seen advertisements for it. It's a reality-based type of show. Is this what it is?
I mean, it's a reality. I mean, there's nothing real about reality TV.
Well, I know, but that's what they refer to it
They call
as.
it reality.
Yeah,
Yes,
so it's kind of like a
yes.
Dancing with the Stars or,
Yes.
the American Idol sort of thing, right?
Yes,
Okay.
it's a reality TV show where they eliminate each girl based on how she looks and how she takes a picture.
Okay.
So it's a fantastic example of how we have taken the female body and its beautiful glory that God has given it and degraded it and put it up and made it into the human person into human parts and put makeup on it.
Now, that's well put. And degraded it into parts. And I've always had a problem with beauty pageants for that reason. Is you women are judged. I've always said it's like judging cattle. We're holding up signs with numbers, almost literally, as to how she can walk in a gown or a swimsuit of some sort. And I've always thought this.
Well, cattle get a better go at it. At least the heavier you are, the better you go. Eat, feed them more.
Yeah, good point. Good point. But you kind of also laugh at the idea of it being a reality-based show.
Yeah, there's nothing real about that.
Okay, well, what's it like? Give us a brief idea. What's it like behind the scenes on something like this?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
So it's not real. They don't just put the cameras on and let it go. This is scripted to some degree?
Granted, they do not give you any scripts.
Okay.
So of course there's not that. But it's very sad. We all are very broken people. And we all are very broken because of very basic things that we understand of sin. And reality TV, and I know this from this show in particular, and I'm sure it's the same for many other shows, but reality TV, and America's Next Top Model in particular, is taking the brokenness of young women and it's putting them in situations that they are trying so hard to be happy, and they're trying so hard to feel good and to go after something that they think is going to make them happy. And it's watching them just fall apart in some ways. You're watching them cry. You're watching this and you're calling this entertainment. This is not entertainment. These are people behind the scenes. This is us, we were sitting in a room. They told us that we were going to be judged soon, going to be eliminated soon. It was actually my elimination at the time. And we stood there for 2 hours in our high heels in one spot, could not move for 2 hours. One girl fainted behind us. She dropped to the floor, they got her up, they made us all stand. Don't move, stand. Nothing happened. They told us we were waiting on something. We weren't waiting on anybody. Why did they do it? Oh, all of a sudden the room temperature goes up. It gets warmer in there. They're wanting to create drama. They're wanting to create anxiety. They want to create more of this, moment of, oh my gosh, I've been eliminated, or all this stuff that goes on. Other things that go on. We stayed at the Waldorf Astoria, my season 3 did. Every door in that location had been taken off the hinges. Even the bathroom door had been taken off the hinges. When we moved in, even the shower curtain had been taken out. Every cameraman on that location was a cameraman. We had microphones like I'm wearing right now that had to be on us all the time, 24 hours a day.
If any of you complained about any of this?
Nothing. You were always threatened with, you signed a contract and it was $1 million lawsuit if you violated the contract. Wow. And of course, each one of us come from homes, most of us did, that didn't have a lot of money, and working class people, who make a living to take care of our, families, but that's it.
So you really weren't in a position you could have fought legally.
And we didn't, it scared us. The legal contract scared us enough to think that we couldn't fight, that we had to say yes, we couldn't say no. And so you just went along with it because you didn't really understand what was going on.
See, that's the sort of thing, Leah, that's always bothered me about any reality-based show, is there seems to be this real draw to try to create the most extreme drama, the fights, the screaming, the crying, a lot of the shows that MTV does, or any of the Fox reality show channels or whatever they are. And again, I don't watch much TV, enough to be aware of what's out there, but even the commercials alone seem to be an abuse of feelings and emotions.
It is. It's very sad.
For the sake of ratings.
It is. It is for the sake of ratings. There's nothing in that show that's going to teach us about fashion. And people say this, oh, it's just fun. It's just for fashion. It's just entertainment. So my brokenness is entertainment for you? So seeing me cry because I've been eliminated, because my definition of happiness is distorted anyway, you're entertained by that. There's something wrong here. There's something very wrong that you're entertained with my brokenness, and that's okay. there's something wrong with that, with our culture with that.
Right, right.
And we need to see that. And of course, I didn't know that going into it. I thought the same thing. Oh, it's fine. It's just a TV show. It's just fashion. It's just modeling. Well, there's, when it comes down to it, there's very little about that, and there's more about just the exploitation of human dignity, the exploitation of truly the brokenness that we all have, and spreading that opening up more wounds, letting it be seen, and showing that as entertainment, showing that as the ratings, that is the pocketbook. That's what gets people paid.
So that's the intention behind the producers and all those that are putting
Well,
these
if there's no
programs on.
ratings, there's no show.
Sure. And
I mean, we all know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And well, except on EWTN, we don't pay attention to ratings.
That's right.
But in the secular world, you're absolutely right. And so, and the best way they can to draw those ratings up is to make things as dramatic and create the upheaval and as you say, emphasize on the brokenness of the individual people. And you say pretty much all the girls there that were in this were hurting in some way.
I would imagine that, yes, absolutely. I think that many will probably say, oh, well, no, I didn't. But I mean, we all know with original sin, there's pain in each one of our hearts from something or other. Whether or not that show brought it out immediately, I don't know. But
you did reach a point where you had it. You said, this is it.
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was eliminated from the TV show. And I stayed in New York about 2 years after that. I said I was still going to continue on. I didn't have enough of my fill of the modeling world, and I thought I was going to continue on. And keep in mind, I had about 10 years. It was coming up on about 10 years of this life that I was leading, this slow fade away from my Catholic faith. I was having impure relationships with guys. I didn't quite understand what love was. I didn't get all of that. And so all of this led up to this moment I had, and I had this invitation from this international photo shoot or international magazine to do a photo shoot for them, and so I decided that I would. And it was in the middle of that photo shoot that this moment happened within my heart, and it was then that everything did change. It was, for me and my conversion or reversion back to the faith, it was a St. Paul moment.
Yeah.
I was knocked off, and it was in the middle of that photo shoot where, I literally saw myself. I was actually modeling a very immodest outfit. It was the first time that I had put something on that, itty bitty and small before, and I felt very uncomfortable, very scared and exposed. I think that most models do. Most women do when they have that on, and I just think that we always tell ourselves, it's just a job, just get through it. It'll be over with soon, just keep going.
And that's how you're coached, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're told by all those in the industry that this is just what you do.
Yeah.
In other words, you've been objectified even by those who are running the industry. That you're an object, you're a machine, you're a tool, this is what you are, and they've kind of convinced you of that.
Yeah.
But something in your heart said, no, that's not what I am.
That's right. It did. Yeah. And so it was just this very special moment that God gave me, and in my heart, I mean, to sum it up very, very quickly for our viewers and everything, at least, I knew I was made for more, and I wasn't being everything I knew I could be. Wow. And it was, this wasn't the thought that ran through my head at that moment, but it was a sense of this from John Paul II that each one of us is unique and unrepeatable. And I just thought, I think back at that moment, this sense of feeling, I'm more than this. This can't be everything. This body, even this beauty that God gave me, this can't be it. And what am I doing with this? And I knew that I had to give more, and my life could not be, epitomized into this one moment. And so I literally walked out. And there was a lot of drama and promises of you'll be nobody. And I remember turning around and saying, do you promise, Do you promise I'll be nobody to you? And I really am so happy.
So they threatened you with that as you walked out?
Oh yeah. You know, we're almost done. Keep going. Let's go. You know, and I'm like, no, I'm done. I got to get out of here. I've got to. I can't do this anymore. It's not just you in this shoot. It's the life. Right. It's nothing. It's everything about this. It's everything in my doing. You know, everything within me that I've been holding on to. The years that I have been away from confession, receiving communion in the state of mortal sin. Everything. I can't do this anymore.
So it was a bigger picture than just the model.
It's not just the shoot. It's not just the fashion. It was everything, and I couldn't do it, and they threatened me with all that, so I walked away.
Wow. All right, well, let's go to a break right now, ladies and gentlemen, and come back to this one. This is a powerful, powerful story, powerful moment. We'll be back with Leah Darrow after this. Don't go away. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Life on the Rock, Doug Barry and Father Mark, Rockhouse compadres here, and you're watching the most important show you could be watching at this particular moment. We have with us right now Leah Darrow, and we're talking about fashion, modesty, modeling. You were up there at this real important moment, modeling in the world, a dream that a lot of young ladies would have, and something struck you that said, this is not right, something's very wrong here. You walk out, they're even threatening you, telling you, you'll be nobody. I'm assuming they're saying this is going to ruin your career and all this sort of stuff.
You got it.
And now you're traveling and speaking about modesty and purity and decency and dignity and true beauty.
And fashion.
And fashion, in its right sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to pick it up from there if we can. You walk out, you leave there. Do you call home? Do you leave New York City? I mean, where do you go from there? What's your next step?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the biggest thing a girl can do is call her dad. So that's what I did. I made the phone call home to my dad, and I told him, I'll never forget it, verbatim. I said, if you don't come and get me, I'm going to lose my soul. And there was a long pause. And I think my parents are waiting for that phone call for a long time.
Really? What did your dad say?
He said, okay, baby, I'm coming to get you. And he literally drove, my parents live in St. Louis now, and he literally drove all the way from St. Louis to Manhattan, and he came and he picked me up.
You know what? You know how many women out there long to hear that from their father?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
okay,
I mean,
baby,
I can't say it without tearing up. It's
I don't
amazing.
blame you. I mean, there's so many, I in my speaking across the country for so many years now, so many women who are so broken and hurt by the men in their lives. And I'm assuming that there are probably a fair amount of men behind the fashion industry and the modeling industry knowing how to manipulate the situation because they know what a woman can do to attract inappropriately. But to have kind of the knight in shining armor of your father say that to you had to just be like almost the voice of God working through your dad then.
Oh, it was amazing. It was everything that I thought he was going to say, and he delivered. You know, it's what you expect a strong man to do, and he fulfilled his role as my father in that way. I thank God that I do have a good dad like that, and I am very, very blessed to have him. And so he did. He drove all the way from, like I said, St. Louis to Manhattan. He came, he picked me up, and I was, at this point, during the interim between that drive, I was just devastated. You know, I've been sobbing and just recounting my life of sin, and everything is going through my mind. I'm just this terrible person, all this shame and all these things. And he gets to my door, and he's got this huge smile on his face, and I'm just thinking he had way too much coffee, you know, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on with him. And he's like, oh, I'm so happy to see you. And I want to go to Central Park, and I want to, you know, visit Carnegie Deli and eat a big Reuben sandwich and all these things. And I'm like, okay, Dad, that's great. Maybe, and I'm just thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll just kind of forget about this crazy thing that's just recently happened to my life, and that I'm going to be leaving my whole career and changing over and becoming, you know, different. And I'm thinking I'm kind of going to change, but just kind of forget about the past without doing anything about it. And I think he was reeling me in this whole time. And he looked at me and he goes, but first, we go to confession. And I look at him and I just say, okay. I said, but Dad, you know, maybe we should wait till I go home. Maybe I should wait till I go home, back home to St. Louis, where my parents live now. And he looked at me and he grabbed the keys off the counter that were right there. And he said, Leah Diane, you called and you said you needed to come home. I'm here to take you home. And church is home. You want to go anywhere else, you can call Southwest Airlines. So, very quickly, I found myself to a confessional, and thank God that I had that push, and I had that person in my life to say, "This is it."
See, that is the leadership, you know, Father. We talk about in the show about the men need to have. I mean, and as a husband and father myself, to lead my children and my wife and encourage them constantly to the faith, to the sacraments. That's where we men need to be. In our most powerful position of leadership is the spiritual head, the spiritual leader, the spiritual warrior. This is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Of your dad saying, hey, call Southwest Airlines, anyone else, but right now we're going back to God. We're taking the sacraments. I mean, that's classic right there.
It was perfect. And it was fantastic. I walked right into that confessional, and I gave God over a decade of pain. Yeah. I gave God over a decade of shame and guilt and frustration and attempts at happiness. And he gave me peace. He gave me forgiveness.
And Father, you were saying
wonderful.
something during the break about the importance of shame and guilt, and how, I mean, it gets abused and mocked as, you know, we shouldn't be ashamed, we shouldn't feel guilty, but that is critical for us, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you know, we see that as just a natural component of our psychology, right? That we have a sense that of a certain modesty, that some things shouldn't be unveiled, you know, only to certain persons, right? It's just not to the whole world. And certainly, the marital intimacy, you can have this, the scriptures speak of knowledge of the man and the woman, right? Because they have this bond, this communion together. It's a safe place to reveal this to one another. And it fosters a communion. When we just kind of parade these things shamelessly, there's something that assaults our dignity in that, you know. And I like the part of your story just that, you know, God works through us through our conscience, right? We have to obey our conscience, and we need to be open to that voice of conscience. And you know, that takes a lot of courage to walk out, to walk out of the career and your trajectory in life where you thought you were going.
It's about all I had, I think, to do. God, I had enough to walk out, and God, picked me up and took me from there. But yeah, it was amazing. But
do you think a lot of it had to do with the upbringing that you mentioned the rosary that you were drug kicking and screaming to at times, but still there was a foundation of faith that your family had laid down.
Absolutely.
Obviously your dad had expressed it strong enough that you knew you could call him, and you pretty much had a good sense that he was going to respond the way he did.
Absolutely. I mean, even though I was living a life of sin, and you have to keep in mind that for about a decade of my life, I had been living a life of slow fade of sin, and I was making, especially later in those years of those 10 years, very conscious decisions of living away from the faith. But even still, my parents were very clear, saying, "No, Leah, we don't agree with that. That's not what the church teaches. We love you, and we will always love you." And they always kept up communication with me, and they kept up a level of love and that type of communication that always made me know that, okay, they're holding true to the truth, but they're not holding back love. And so that allowed this communication, that allowed me, I think, to make that phone call, along with the fact of that foundation of faith that they gave me from the very beginning. And that foundation can start any time in a family.
Right.
It doesn't have to start when your kids are very young. You can start today, wherever that family is at with their kids. So yeah, it definitely helped.
We get that question a lot as priests, that you know, usually parents, they're worried about some family member, and they always ask me, well, Father, what can I do? I don't want to enable, I don't want to encourage their sinful behavior. But that's what we usually try to tell them. Well, you want to keep the communication open so they have somewhere to turn, or
Right.
you know, you don't badger people, you don't keep hammering away at them. You let them know where you stand. But I think that's a great witness your parents had there.
Your parents weren't afraid to keep letting you know, lovingly, this is what the church teaches on this, that,
Yeah.
the other thing then.
They were not afraid. My parents, I heard no many more times than I ever heard yes. And that has been a very big blessing in my life. Absolutely.
So things turned. So you go back home then,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you wake up one day and decide you're going to travel the country and speak on chastity.
Absolutely.
And
That's
purity,
just how it worked
happened
out.
like
That's
that.
just how I did it.
All right. Well, how, I mean, obviously not, but how did that happen then? How did you go from that conversion moment to now you do what you do? Now you travel and you speak and you present to thousands of kids and adults alike.
I do. Well, it just, I don't know. God does the weirdest things with me. He surprises me. It just happened. I mean, it all just kind of started with the fact that I still love fashion. So I was watching, it was so funny. My mom, she had a very long day, and it was by the goodness of EWTN, the blessings of EWTN, airing a program that showcased a show. I think you all were interviewing Pure Fashion. And my mom was upstairs and she was watching TV, and I was running out and I thought, oh, I forgot to say hello to her really quick. So I ran upstairs to say hello, and she was watching TV, so I looked to see what she was watching really quick, and she was watching EWTN. I go, oh, what are you watching? And she goes, oh, and she was telling me, and I saw some really cute girls with some cute outfits on. I go, what is this? She says, it's EWTN. I go, is this EWTN? And she goes, yes. And I said, really, this is EWTN? And I just thought, wait a minute, this is the Catholic channel, and the Catholic channel has really great girls, and they're dressing really cute, and I'm Catholic, wait. And so I realized that was a Pure Fashion group, and so I got connected with them, and I helped them out later on, and that's how it started. So it was actually, all these things come into play. It's just amazing how it all happens. That EWTN is available, that it had Pure Fashion on to interview, that I saw the fact that God encompasses beauty and the faith together in the art of a woman, and that's how it drew me in. And I began with the organization of Pure Fashion, helping out, and it started out just helping out with them actually backstage, not talking whatsoever, not doing any type of talks, and then it was just at an event of someone saying, hey, listen, would you mind just quickly giving a talk to the girls on this side thing real quick? And and I did, and then from there it just kind of slowly started developing, and then now I'm a speaker for Catholic Answers.
Wow. Wow, okay. And traveling the world for a whole different approach of fashion. We're going to go to a break now, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with another segment with Leah Darrow, and let's get into a little more on that message of chastity and modesty and purity. So don't go away, and we'll be back in just a few moments. We'd love to see them argue. More exciting. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Life on the Rock here. Doug Barry and Father Mark with Leah Darrow. Forgive me, Darrow?
Darrow. Yeah,
Darrow.
you got it.
Okay. Big Oklahoma Sooner fan here. Nebraska Cornhusker. We got issues, but that's all right. We're putting those past us because more important things to talk about the faith, and we want to get into that now. The content of the message, because your message in the early years of your life was, let's go the fashion route. Let's make it big as a model. Massive, beautiful, powerful conversion moment. Your father comes in there like I mean, you could probably almost hear the horse as the knight in shining armor comes riding into Manhattan
That's my dad.
to rescue his daughter. And
That's right.
that's what we men are supposed to be. That's what we're created for. I mean, men are created to, to win the hearts of the woman, even to win the heart of my daughter. To let her know that I am a man she can count on and rely on, and a man, a husband, a father, excuse me, should be that way. And for my wife, I need to win the heart of my wife. I try to win the heart of my wife every day. I still show off for her periodically, The kids laugh at it, but
I think isn't it John Paul II that says the vocation of every man is the dignity of every woman, and the calling of every woman is the integrity of every man. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, he was okay.
So.
Came up with some great stuff. He's probably coming up with better stuff now.
Yeah.
But okay, so tell us about the message. So you begin to speak. You're talking to young people and adults alike. And in general, I mean, let's get to the heart of it in this last segment. What is the essence and the point of the message you want to give when it comes to this?
When it comes down to it, one of the things that I really talk about is one of the things that I've learned in my graduate studies. I have to give credit to that because this is something that's really helped me, and I'm working on my master's in theology actually at Ave Maria University, and it's really opened up my eyes. But is defining our terms. It's very simple, but it's so important today when so many things are being thrown at us. And one of the most important ones, there are two, is what is happiness and also love. And how do we see our happiness is, do we trust that God will really make us happy? Do we go after those things in life? Or do we think that, a lot of money, big bank accounts, cars, success, all the, what is that? And also love. I believe it's Aquinas who has a definition that I prefer for love, and it's desiring the greatest good for your beloved. So in these talks that I give, whether it's my chastity talk or my conversion talk, I really pinpoint that and also show that for me, that was a very big misunderstanding that I had, was I didn't understand what love was. And you look at the cross, desiring the greatest good for the beloved. That's where he is at. On a Friday afternoon, he chose the greatest good for his beloved, which was you and me, all of us. And that was our salvation. That's amazing. Yeah. The greatest good for our beloved truly is desiring that. And that's the kingdom of heaven. And that's the love we want. And that's, when I speak to girls, when I speak to women all over, I think that's the thing. I look out and I see myself at 15. I see myself at 25. I see myself all over, and I see, I know what you want. And I know that some of you have gone after it in a way that I have too. And I know we've tried hard to find that love. And we haven't found it that way. And it doesn't work. But when you believe that Christ will really fulfill that love in your heart more than any other man, when you believe that happiness can be found in God, that will be a fulfilling life. That's the love we want. Those are the relationships within people and within men that can be really fulfilling when we have a good working definition of our terms. That's important. It's just some basic understanding of that. And you can base a lot more off of that. But it's defining your terms right, though, because if we don't have that right, we're not going to get a lot of other things right also. But it's starting at the foundation. It's redefining that term of love. What is love to you? We've defined it wrong in culture today. Love is defined as sex. If you love someone, you have sex with them. That's what culture tells us. Well, do you love them? Well, then you should have sex with them. That doesn't work. We obviously know it doesn't work because people keep doing it over and over, and they're not in love. They're not staying in love.
Yeah, the chaos is pretty obvious that comes from that type of approach.
So we have to really just be honest. We got to call it.
What's the response from especially young girls who hear this message from you? Because obviously they're going to look at you, and a lot of them who are living in this world of, wow, modeling, and that's a dream job, and then they meet you, and you've been in that on that side of the track, and then you're saying to them something completely different. You've got to be shattering a lot of dreams. Well done, but you've got to be shattering a lot of those inappropriate dreams. What's the feedback and the response you get?
I think at first they're a little shocked when I give them the reality of reality TV. And then when we start talking about love, when I start sharing my personal experiences in depth about love, which are very similar, dime a dozen out there that go on in the audience today. There's very little difference between my story and a lot of girls' story out there. Take away the top model part, it's very similar. It's like the common cold. And we understand, we get it. And at the very end, when we talk about how, by the grace of God, I've embraced the message of chastity, the virtue of chastity, this life of being a real woman, the vocation of woman, the vocation of love, to love. It's an amazing response. I can't tell you how many girls will come up after a talk and they'll look at me and they convince me more, I feel like, than I'm even convinced myself of the message of chastity at times. They're like, it's not of, I really like this. This is a great message. Good job. It's, you've changed my life. And it's not, Leah Darrow, this is the message of Jesus Christ. This is the message of eternal love. I'm just a little microphone. That's it. I'm just a little example of conversion. But it's Christ. This is what Christ is doing in their hearts. It's what Christ did in my heart. And I'm just saying, it's you too. This is what he does for you too. And that's what he did. And it's just this beautiful example. And Christ gives me these opportunities to see this in them. And it's beautiful to watch them walk back into their high school with their heads held higher, knowing that I have dignity, I have worth, I'm a woman, and I am going to start acting like it.
See, that you bring up the part about dignity and worth, and that's the thing that's always gotten me is we are very kind of driven by my value and my worth is based upon what I do, my talents, what I look like, what I'm able to do, and I would say your value is not dependent upon any of that. Look at a crucifix, that's your value. It's the fact that Christ has died for you. I mean, for each of us, that's where I get my value. It's got nothing to do with, the hair on my head, and in my case, that's a good thing. It's got to do with something much deeper, because if I'm a quadriplegic in a wheelchair, scarred for life due to a car accident or a sickness or a disease of some sort, Christ still would have died for me.
That's right.
I mean, Christ's love for me is that unique and that powerful, but that's a big problem, isn't it, Father, in our society, is the value and the worth issue?
Yeah, it's, if we don't discover that, as John Paul said, our life is meaningless. We're incomprehensible to ourselves, and we seek it. And like Leah's, I think, saying, you seek it in false ways, false idols. And what do you? I'm curious. Like, what do you tell the women about modesty? Like, do you have guidelines or principles? Do you get specific? Or
I do get specific. I do get very specific. I mean, we have a lot of girl talks when we talk about this, and I mean, I get very blunt, saying, okay, now listen, ladies, when you get dressed in an outfit and you are in front of that mirror, if you should walk out of the house or not. Your heart knows what message it's going to give. You cannot tell me you don't know. Your heart really knows. If you stand in front of that mirror for just a few more seconds longer, if you're not sure, it'll be revealed to you. And if you think, oh, I look good. In fact, I think I look really good. Well, then just take it off. Because, honey, you do look good. You look real good. And that's exactly the point. Maybe you just look a little too good. And the fact is that we all influence one another. We all affect one another. And what we wear does send a message. That's what's so awesome about fashion. That's what I love about it, is that we all can really be these billboards for Christ. It's kind of funny, one of these disgusting shows that was on TV for a while back. It's not on anymore. It was an HBO series called Sex and the City, And I was thinking about that, and I actually wrote a little bit on it a while back. We don't need Sex in the City. What we need is saints in the city. We need people who are going to be walking billboards for the Christian faith, for the Catholic faith. And we can do that without saying a word. We can do this by how we dress, by dressing in a very modest way. And modesty, very quickly, let me just give you a definition for modesty. It's very basic, it's from the Catechism. Modesty is decency. I mean, shouldn't we at least be decent? We should at least be decent.
Right.
And also, it seems like the parents have such an important role here, especially I would think the father too, that he knows the mind of men, knows, what is inappropriate? And it seemed like he has a special, you could answer that, I guess.
Well, the man understands how, you know, obviously we as men, how we're impacted. And we also, as a leader, as a guide, as a spiritual head of the family, have an ability and a unique position to be able to convey to our sons and our daughters, and my wife too, you know, the real dignity and beauty that they have in the right way. Because I agree with you, the message sent by the way we dress, and men need to be willing to speak on this. The message sent by the way we dress affects people and how
and
they
just
perceive
because it's
us.
fashion does not mean that men don't have a voice in it. I think men sometimes are like, ah, it's a girl thing. No, 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 no. You don't get a back seat, boys. You know, husbands need to stand up and they need to start saying something about, like, I don't think so. You know, you don't need to be walking out of the house like that. You know why? Because I'm a man and I know men's brains.
Absolutely, I agree with
You're
that
not
100%.
wearing it.
Yep, I've been preaching that for a long time too, Leah. Leah, this has gone far too fast. We've got to run. Just got a few seconds left. You've been fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
and
much.
good luck. You work Catholic Answers is who you're working for. So you want to get a hold of Leah, contact Catholic Answers and bring it to your school, your event, your conference, and get that modesty job done. Father?
May our Heavenly Father shine His face upon you and give you His peace, and may Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We'll see you next week.